Great Rising fam, it's your netter brother, Andre 360. Peace to the netchurts and the netchers, the goddesses and the gods. I'm going to come real brief with you real quick. I was building with a sister the other day, and we were talking about one of our leaders who transitioned, one of our I ain't gonna say leaders, but an influential figure, you know what I mean, within the black community who transitioned. I'm not gonna say any names on who he was, but we had a discussion on how he was such a fireball for our people, standing up and was they couldn't even debate with him or mess with him in his youth. But as he got older, his message got more watered down. He conformed and compromised his stance for whatever reasons. Then I got to speaking on how the civil rights era and the 70s, Black Power era, of the 60s and the 70s, you know what I'm saying, were both strong masculine eras for black people where we were standing up for our rights. You know what I mean? That warrior spirit was in us and fiery, fierily abundant, within the black man and the black woman. The divine feminine had summoned her warrior spirit, and it was evident and put out there on for the public to see. You know what I'm saying? And as well as the divine masculine males energies was their warrior spirit was out there in fire, and we weren't taking anymore. We weren't, going to have that or settle or accept the nonsense and the subhuman treatment that we were being given by society, in America and globally for that matter. But from the 60s and 70s going into the 80s, it got more watered down. That message got watered down. That stance got watered down. That fire, and that warrior spirit got watered down. The people that were pushed in the public eye as figures to represent us, you know what I'm saying, for the most part, leading organizations were agents, you know what I'm saying? Such as Al Sharpton. You can do the research on that. Look up Al Sharpton. He wasn't just a dude who, if you pull him up, they're going to say he was an FBI informant who told on the mob. Okay, he told on the mob. How much can you tell on the mob if you're not part of the mob? If you didn't infiltrate them in some kind of form or fashion, you know what I'm saying? And I'm not saying that's not what he did, but what I'm saying is he was part of the Black Power movement or the Black struggle for equality movement in the 80s. He spearheaded that thing. He was at every march and all kinds of other stuff. Like he was our leader or one of our leaders. You know what I'm saying? So you mean to tell me he told on the mob, but he ain't point out key figureheads within the black community that were standing up and trying to go hard for our rights or whatever and sell them out? You know what I'm saying? And compromised our stance? You trying to tell me he didn't do that? Once an informant, always an informant. Once an agent, always an agent. Jesse Jackson. You know what I'm saying? Come on, really? We know the story with him and King and the whole nine on the second balcony, moving his room from the bottom floor up to the balcony on the second floor so they could have a clearer shot. You know what I'm saying? But back to what I was saying, going into the 80s, our spirit, that warrior spirit got watered down. That masculine energy got watered down, you know what I'm saying? And they replaced it with a more softer one, such as entertainers, like Lionel Richie, Michael Jackson, Prince, and others of those types, which was soft and moist and did not represent the strong masculine, the masculinity that the African male should have, you know what I'm saying? You could go find statues of our masculinity, you know what I'm saying? We was like this, you know what I mean? Very fertile brothers, you know what I mean? But anyway, these soft new images going into the pop culture era, you know what I'm saying, of the 80s, you know what I'm saying, were supposed to be our new representatives, you know what I'm saying? The mass media machine made sure of that, you know what I'm saying? And they replaced that strong masculine energy of the civil rights and Black power movement with them, you know what I mean? Now, I'm not knocking the teachers who came after the era of Malcolm X and the civil rights and the Black Power movements of the Black Panthers eras, you know what I'm saying? Because But what I'm saying is that there was and there still is a distinct difference between teaching and moving, speaking out and organizing active movements. There's a difference between trying to work within the system that oppresses, exploits, terrorizes, and murders you and our people versus revolting and forming organizations, you know what I'm saying, that are joining with other nations who would fight, you know what I mean, alongside you for your human rights that we were being denied globally, let alone in this nation. So I say all of that to say this, you know, and I'm not knocking Prince and Michael Jackson or some of the other entertainers from that era who weren't the most masculine black figures, you know what I'm saying? You know, they were cast into the public eye by the mass media machine, as I said. But their rise to extreme fortune and fame was by design, you know what I'm saying? It was by design. I'm not saying that they weren't great entertainers. I'm not saying that they weren't very talented and were given a message from the ancestors to relate to us soulfully and musically. You know what I'm saying? But they were put in front of the public eye with these images. You know what I'm saying? The images that their PR representatives wanted them to have, and the PR representatives got this thing passed down to them from the record labels, which was also funded by the government. You know what I'm saying? Because nothing goes and gets played across the airways. I think it's the FCC or whatever controls that. They censor music, they censor messages, they censor what you see on the news, everything. What's cast into the public eye and on your TVs and radios here in America is monitored, censored, and controlled. You know what I'm saying? Those people who were put into those positions to be pop megastars, you know what I'm saying, wasn't something that they just did on their own. You know what I'm saying? They were manufactured. Black public figures being cast into the spotlight as the new leaders of the pop culture era, you know what I'm saying, signified the end of the Black Power movement. Point blank range, you know what I'm saying? But I mean, point blank, you know, it can't get no flatter than that. You know what I mean? Because it was a direct yet covert attack on the Black Power movement, as well as their music being used along with sports and other forms of entertainment as a distraction to get our minds away from what needs to be done to correct this nation and the situation within it that was evident back then and still persists to this day. That's where you have the Black Lives Matter organization coming into play here in this day and time. They are funded and ran by non-blacks. Let's get that straight. Black Lives Matter is funded and ran by non-blacks with a covert non-black agenda on the surface, and it seems as though they are speaking for us, but anyone or ones truly for us in the face of an all-out culture of genocide, terror attacks, and murder against our people won't be talking. They won't be marching. You know what I mean? Nor will they be voting to stop our murderers. They will be out there fighting, not rioting or looting. If someone kills your family member, you're going to go burn their car? How was that equal? You know what I'm saying? You didn't kill a family member, took a life, so you burn their car? How was that equal? They can buy or get funded another car, but can you get your family member's life back? They have to feel that same pain as you felt, experience that same loss. If someone is shooting guns with real bullets at you and throwing dynamite into your house, you don't throw firecrackers back at them and shoot water guns as return fire in their direction. That's asinine and foolish, with the end result being you dying and them being entertained by your fireworks show and your water guns. The scholars and master teachers of true African culture and spirituality during the era of the 80s, 90s, and 2000s were and are still very necessary because they provide the awakening, you know what I mean, of our people etherically, mentally, and spiritually with right teachings, you know what I'm saying? But they are and were allowed to fly under the radar and get that off to a certain extent as long as they are just speaking, plain facts. Because blacks in America do have a certain degree of freedom of speech, although it's monitored, as I said earlier, and censored by the oppressors running this nation. However, what they will not tolerate is you organizing and mobilizing accordingly to stand up against them in the face of them not representing you or standing for what you and your tax dollars are supposed to represent. You know what I'm saying? And what that reality is basically saying and telling you to you, and what that reality is basically saying and telling you to your face, although some of you refuse to acknowledge it, is that you are not being governed. You are being occupied. It's a difference from a government representing you, being for the people, versus being occupied by an enemy establishment and their law enforcement agencies, locally and federally. We must take back the spirit of masculinity and the essence of warrior, you know what I'm saying? Warriorhood when being threatened in terms of our existence by anybody, within and without. The 60s and the 70s era represented that fire. And I question, where's that fire right now in these days? People say that they want freedom, liberation, equality, sovereignty, etc. But none of that is attained without a price. And what price, you know what I mean, are you willing to pay for you and your family members to have that? For your community to have that? For your people to experience that in your lifetime? The United States fought a long, bloody war against the British Army, you know what I'm saying, for their independence. Haiti did the same thing against France. And so did many other nations that exist today. They fought for their right to exist. But we are taught that we are supposed to vote for ours, with the same people who are responsible for taking away our independence, our human rights, and holding us hostage under enemy and subhuman conditions in a nation that we built on a land that is ours by right. Those who accept these conditions as part of the acceptable norm in society are just as much as the problem as those responsible for creating them and working to keep those dynamics as part of the mainstay in America and globally. Get your fire back. You know what I'm saying? Recognize what was done to us to take that away from us. They distracted us. They watered us down. They took away our leaders and put some new people in place. COINTELPRO made sure of that. They vowed to not let another black messiah rise again. They wasn't going to let another Malcolm X come. One came in the form of Dr. Khalid Muhammad. And now they're coming up as a lot of master teachers. Some of them have transitioned already. But a lot of them are still here. But that fire is needed also. Get yours back. Unify. Organize. Know who are your true enemies. Because it's not each other. It's your brother Andre 360. Wholeness, balance, perfection, and power. Peace.